Hello and welcome to another edition of It's About Money. I'm Nanette Nocon and thank you for joining us. Either you or someone you know may have been affected by outsourcing and the concept of globalization. Today we're fortunate to have a very important person named Mike Cook. You are! He is the co-founder of Vital Work, a consulting firm, and he's also the author of a book called Thrive, Standing on Your Own 2 Feet in a Borderless World. Thank you for being here, Mike. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here. Now, what compelled you to write the book Thrive?
I think current circumstances more than anything else. I read Thomas Friedman's book, The World is Flat. The overview that he provided for what's going on in the global marketplace really sort of spurred me to say, geez, the likelihood is that people are not necessarily going to read this book, or the right people are not necessarily going to read this book in time. And I decided that I would write a book that I thought had a sort of urgent flavor to it around the need to start to take responsibility for the economic circumstances.
Mm-hmm. And when I read parts of the book, I thought, wow, this is really great. It's what I've been thinking about and what people should be doing, and it's so wonderfully written. Now, you also subtitled it, Standing on Your Own 2 Feet in a Borderless World.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I think that's a big part of dealing with the current set of circumstances. When people think about employment, they think about jobs. When I think about employment, I think about situations to employ my talent. Mm-hmm. And that's an entirely different concept. My premise in the book is that people need to first and foremost be responsible for the talents that they have. And secondly, they need to be responsible for understanding how it is that they can provide value for other people, as contrasted to going out and looking for employment, which means somebody else is creating the opportunity. So I'm not suggesting that you don't take a job. What I am suggesting is that you understand, aside from a paycheck, why are you taking that job?
Mm-hmm. So it's really removing the control from the employer, so to speak, that you're creating your own sense of responsibility, so that you're employable or finding the opportunities that will give you the opportunity to make money.
Yeah, I in the book I use the term engagement. Mm-hmm. And engagement, if you look at the definition of it in the dictionary, the dictionary definition is association by choice. That's a stark contrast to employment, which is association by need on both parties. And so the consequence of associating by need is that you're in a situation where someone can take away that which you need, as contrasted to an engagement which no one can take away from you other than yourself.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So it removes the feeling of ever being stuck.
Yes.
Because it's not a need, it's a choice, right?
Yeah, you're here because you choose to be here. Mm-hmm. You're here because it's a situation that allows you to both economically satisfy your needs as well as creatively, if you want to call it creative, but more maybe express your talents, to be able to fully utilize your talents, so you feel like you're making a contribution.
Mm-hmm. You know, in your book, there was something you wrote, I will thrive to the extent that I understand and apply the rules of engagement in the world today. I recognize that my intent to deliver value to others is the entry point to engaging effectively with those who are resources to me. I will expect no return to me until I have delivered value to another. Wow.
Imagine that in needlepoint.
It should be. It's great. So tell me a little bit more. I mean, that's such a powerful, message to deliver.
I work with people all the time in organizations, Nanette, that if I ask them why are they here in this particular place, why are they here in this particular job, really are startled by the question. Because they don't think necessarily in terms of why they're there. They know what the employer wants, but they don't know why they're there. The consequence of that, and I think the consequence that we have suffered as a culture over the past, about 100 years actually, since we moved away from being an agrarian economy, is that we've given up, without realizing it, we've given up responsibility for our own financial welfare. And we have put ourselves at the mercy of someone else providing the opportunity for us. Very different. The agrarian culture, you were on your own. You were fending for yourself.
Sure.
We moved into an industrial situation and now into a service and then knowledge economy, and people still have the mindset of going out and looking for a place where someone needs what they can do.
You're right, it's a mind shift that just happened and people never really stopped, I don't think, generally stop and think about
Well,
what
I mean, it's
happened.
totally understandable. It's completely understandable. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been around farming or looked at farming, but farming's hard.
Hard work, yes.
Yeah, farming's hard, and not only is farming hard, but you're at the mercy of the elements. There's no one guaranteeing anything for you, and you're really working, you, the land, and of course in the early going, the animals that were associated with you. Much easier to just show up at a place where it's all set up, go in, and just do what you're being asked to do. It's a whole different thing. And post-World War II, we had the illusion that everything was secure as long as we just showed up and did good work. Well, without realizing that what we were really doing is living out a situation in which virtually every other economy in the world had been crushed in World War II. Ours was the only functioning economy, and it created that illusion of security that started to erode once the other economies started to get on their feet.
So then one of the things that people need to do today is probably begin to think back like the agrarian society did, would you say?
Yep. Well, that, and the other thing about the agrarian society was people didn't farm individually thousands of acres. They farmed 100 acres. And they were farming next to another person who farmed 100 acres. And on the other side, there was another person who farmed 100 acres. And when came planting time, harvest time, the heavy work time, they worked together. They would help each other out with their fields. They would look out for each other's success. We've lost a lot of that too. We've lost a lot of looking out for the other guy. And part of my belief in terms of, I think I spent a good deal of time on it in the book, the formula for success includes two elements, two prime elements. One, understanding your value and being prepared to demonstrate it before you expect anything. And two, understanding and appreciating interdependency, which means being looked out for and looking out for the other guy.
And I guess society's made us so busy that we weren't stopping to think about those things and how important that is.
Yeah, well, we mythologized individuals in our culture. We spoke at length and we wrote stories about rugged individuals. And the truth be told is there's no such thing as a rugged individual. I mean, there might be rugged people, but none of us are individual. You know, if you don't make an arrangement with the land, it doesn't grow food for you. If you don't understand the rules of the land, it doesn't collaborate with you. So we were never really individuals in the sense that I think those stories would lead us to believe.
Sure, and even if we thought we were, there's other things that we need in our lives that we can't supply ourselves, or would take too much time that we wouldn't be efficient in.
Well, if you ask most people, how would you like to go back to growing your own food, making your own clothes, butchering your own meat? I don't think we get a whole lot of volunteers.
It all look funny.
We would. Well, but then we would be doing nothing except working our full time, in our own place and never talking to another human being.
So we talk about that time period, agrarian society, and then the busyness of what we've been doing. And now we find ourselves in a situation where we are depending on employers to give us a source of income.
Yes.
Now, what does one need to do to kind of combine, bring the past to the present in order for them to survive in this business
I'm
world?
certainly not advocating going out and growing your own food and making your own clothes. I'm not against that. It's just wouldn't be my first choice. What I am suggesting, though, is living a life where you are aware of the fact that the circumstances are threatening. And they're not guaranteed. So, for example, in our culture, if I go to this might be a little bit longer than you'd like an answer to be, but if I go to the mall any night of the week, the parking lot's full. What are we doing? How can we possibly need to go to the mall every day of the week? And what I'm suggesting is that what needs to happen is people need to be thinking in terms of having 4 to 6 months of living expenses in a savings account at all times, so that they either A, have the freedom to walk away if that is their choice to do so, or B, if something untoward happens unexpectedly, that it's not going to devastate their family, it's not going to destroy their confidence, they're going to have time to find another situation for themselves.
So really making some choices. You make the choice of being careful with your money and having these cash reserves. If the situation warrants that you find another source of opportunity, that you can jump to that opportunity because you have the financial means to do so.
Yeah, and I see situations all the time where a company changes directions, it changes its product lines. That's no big deal, except as an individual you don't get to vote. And what you might find is that the job situation has changed such that you're really no longer happy doing what you're doing, but you need to be there because you have to have a paycheck. I'm saying, no, don't put yourself in that position. Be able to walk away.
Mm-hmm. And you can walk away by making some choices along the way.
Yes.
You know, like you said, creating a cash reserves to be able to make that change.
Yeah, no, I don't think that what I'm saying about cash reserves is new news.
Right.
I mean, you're a financial planner.
Right.
You would probably tell people the same thing.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with that philosophy.
But I'm talking about it from a different perspective. I'm not talking about it would be a good idea if. I'm talking about make it a priority. Mm-hmm. Make it a priority. If you do nothing else to plan your financial future, make that a priority. Because the future is uncertain.
I see. But you're absolutely right. There's nothing more uncertain than that. It's just the world is moving so fast that if you're not preparing yourself for the change.
I am not, I don't have any commitment to scaring people. I really don't. However, at the same time, I think people need to be aware. And I'm not talking about fear, I'm talking about awareness. Mm-hmm. And awareness, I think, would lead people to logically conclude, geez, I got to be ready for this. Mm-hmm. I have to be prepared for this.
Okay. So then there's the preparedness about the financial aspect of it. What about preparedness as an individual, about talents and things like that?
Oh my goodness, there is so much that people can do these days. First of all, as we progressed from one economy to another, the agrarian economy was basically so manually hard work. Mm-hmm. Talents, I don't know. Could you work hard? That was probably your talent. We went to industrial type situations where, to a large extent, we were employing people only because we couldn't come up with machines that could do the work that they could do. And so consequently, jobs were very narrow, and they called on us to do very little. I mean, I think probably from the industrial era is where the phrase came, check your mind at the door. We're now a knowledge economy. And that's one of the things that I point to in the book, is that knowledge is a very different product than a car or anything else that's hard. The value of most organizations that are knowledge-based companies goes home every night. Goes home every night. Mm-hmm. And people need to understand where they're at in the scheme of things from the standpoint of there's been a shift in the balance of power. And I'm not talking about revolution or anything like that. What I am suggesting, though, is that your knowledge makes you marketable, makes you portable.
Mm-hmm. It's a different way of thinking.
Yes.
Because then now you have the power to do something with that knowledge, to gain to have the opportunities to make
what most of us are missing is confidence. And what I'm suggesting is that confidence comes from having that 4 to 6 months living expenses in the bank. Mm-hmm. Because what you are able to say is, I don't have to put up with this if I don't like it. This isn't right for me. I can leave. I'll find something else.
You know, that is so true. When I work with clients who are anxious to retire, they first come to my office and they say, I hate my job, I've got to leave, I hate my boss. It's like, okay, fine, let's develop your financial plan. We develop the financial plan, I see the clients again, and I tell them, well, you can leave now, you can retire. You have done a great job saving for the future, and you can retire, and here are the things that you need to do. Mm-hmm. And then, so I see them again a month after. So if you made the decision to leave. No, now that you told me that I can retire, I feel great.
Right. Yeah, the freedom to walk away.
Exactly.
Means you can now choose to stay.
Right.
You don't need to stay.
Yeah, that's right. It's your choice.
Yeah, it's a very different experience.
That's great.
And I think, see, from my standpoint, Nanette, it doesn't matter what you're doing. I mean, we're all going to do something. Mm-hmm. We're all going to do something to make a living. Most of us aren't going to do anything that's earth-shattering. You know, some of us are going to make copiers. Some of us will make cameras like we do here in the Rochester area. Some of us will sell insurance. We're basically just covering needs that each other has. That's all we're really doing. Most of us are not brain surgeons. But the question is, do we love it while we're doing it?
That's great. We're talking with Mike Cook, author of Thrive, Standing on Your Own 2 Feet in a Borderless World. We'll take a break.
Don't we all agree?
We desperately need the bridge.
No way. No bridge. It'll lower the value of my property.
The bridge will help get our kids to school with less danger, quicker, and back home before dark.
Crime, riffraff, smog, and pollution, noise is what the bridge will bring.
Nobody agrees with you. You're out of touch.
Listen, everyone I know is against the bridge.
In a nation that's supposed to be united, it's sometimes hard to imagine that we don't always all agree.
Everyone wants the bridge.
No one wants the bridge.
My legislator better vote right.
American democracy.
Don't we all agree?
Learn how you can make American democracy stronger. Log on to www.representativedemocracy.org.
And we're back. I'm Nanette Nokan, and our guest is Mike Cook, author of Thrive, Standing on Your Own 2 Feet in a Borderless World. Again, thank you for being here, Mike. I really appreciate it.
I've decided I'm going to stay.
Okay,
I'm
great.
doing all the programs.
I'm privileged. Now, what is your opinion about balancing work and personal commitments? You know, there was a point in our lives where people were working too much, and then they're neglecting their families and so on. And what's your take on that? I mean, you've got to save the money so you can prepare for opportunities. You've got to enhance your skills. But what's your take on this balancing act?
I think people make themselves crazy with that conversation, honestly, because to me, the idea that work is not your life is it just means that you're not in touch with reality. The only thing you have is your lifetime, the time of your life, and along with that, you have choices about where you spend it. And so, where you spend it could be work, could be at home, doesn't really make a difference. But you need to be aware of the fact that you're making choices. And many people, I think, don't feel in charge enough of their life. I'm going to keep coming back to that 4 to 6 months, having the savings in the bank, because I say to people, why do you work 60 hours a week? Because if I don't, I'm going to lose my job. Why do you work on the weekends? Because if I don't, I'm going to lose my job. If they said to me, I'm going in because I absolutely love it. It's like, fabulous, okay? But don't go in because you're going to lose your job.
Yeah, you're right. So, and also, that's a very important point. I mean, that's so profound what you said. In order to say that work is not your life, it's a little strange because that's at least 8 hours of someone's life. So if you take that chunk out, your life is kind of empty.
8 times 5 times 50, thereabouts, 48, thereabouts, times 20 years.
True.
Add it up.
It's 40,000 hours or something like that, right?
It's a good portion of your life.
Right, you're absolutely right. Right.
And it would be, I think, it's a shame to think that you're going to then you're going to cram all of your satisfaction into the rest of your life, rather than be satisfied doing what you're doing, expressing your talents, being with your coworkers, and earning a living at the same time.
And some people have often said, don't forget what you go to work for.
Yeah.
And that's to make a paycheck, right? But then what you're saying is just don't go to work just to get a paycheck. Go to work because you enjoy it and it's a choice that you're making.
Yeah, no, I'm aware of the fact that from some people's perspective, economic opportunity is not that plentiful. That's the way they see it. I'd say for the most part, the reason why people don't see economic opportunity as plentiful is because they think that economic opportunity depends on someone else creating the opportunity. What I'm suggesting is no, take the perspective that you create the opportunity. It starts with understanding what you do well and why other people would need it, and then start looking for situations where people will pay you to do that.
Very empowering point of view. That's really great.
Yeah.
That's terrific.
Very freeing too. I mean, to me, there's a big, what would I call it, contradiction in our society, in the sense that we have a democratic society, we're the freest nation in the world, and yet our people feel like they have life sentences when they go to work.
What a shame. I love my work, and I'm so privileged to go to work every day and just look forward to it, you know. So I feel bad when people say, "Jay, I hate my job." You know, it's like, well, what can you do to change it or be different? But your book just helps articulate all that. So I think it's great. Now, what about employers? I'm an employer. I've got a handful, number of employees that are just wonderful people. What can employers do in this changing environment? What can they do to help people in general and impact society? I'm thinking of a big global sense.
Again, this is a great question. I think for years, companies have been putting in their corporate annual reports that people are their most important asset, and then acting differently. Because it is a politically wonderful thing to say that people are our most important asset. Well, there was a time when industrial business, service business perhaps, that people really weren't your most important asset, they were your biggest expense. But we're a knowledge economy now. People are the assets of the business. If you take a look at the average business, say a service business, a financial planning business, okay, when all your folks go home at night, what's the value of the business? Yes?
Great question.
The furniture, what do we get for used computers?
Sure, right. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, it's not as much, but you're absolutely right, because without my staff answering the phone, completing applications, following up, it's really very difficult to deliver that excellent client service.
Well, you're a financial planner, okay, and you use a variety of financial instruments that other financial planners can use as well. What differentiates you from all those other people who are using the exact same products that you use is the experience of working with you, the confidence that you create in the people that work with you, the sense of trust and peace of mind that they get from working with you. If your folks can't convey that to people, maintain that with people, your clients are going to move out.
Yes, you're right. And I'm actually very mindful of that when I hire people. It's not so much on the skills they have at that time. It's how their work ethic is, how they convey feelings to people, how they communicate. Because I feel they're an extension of who I am. So if they're acting differently from what's valuable to me, then I don't want them to be a part of my team.
Well, I have a fellow who's been a coach of mine, not a financial coach, but just sort of a business coach for some time. And he always says that you want to realize that your economic future is in someone else's wallet.
Interesting. That's interesting. So how much of your book is focused on employees trying to get themselves in a position where they can thrive in this borderless world?
Well, interestingly enough, in the book, I would say the majority of the book is focused on employees coming to understand that the quality of their working relationships is probably their greatest asset, access to satisfaction, and it's probably also the greatest skill set that they need to learn to develop in this new economy, because it's very likely that people are not going to work at extended careers. I mean, we're already not working extended careers, but you're going to move. You're going to go in and out. You're going to go in and out. I'm talking to a financial planner who obviously knows that her business is in building relationships. Most people are not doing what you're doing. Most people aren't doing what I'm doing. Most people work with a limited number of people. They don't realize they've got to be able to unplug, replug, and get productive very quickly, and that is going to be a huge component of their value proposition. I can work with anybody is an enormously powerful statement to be able to tell to an employer.
Yeah, that's great. That's wonderful. I can't wait to actually have your book in hand and read from cover to cover. Now, where is your book going to be available? It's going to be out?
Well, currently it's available on pre-order from Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
Okay.
The books themselves are at the printers right now.
I see.
And they will be released, I believe it's November 2nd. They'll actually start to show up in stores.
I see. Very nice.
And then forever after.
Yeah, well, that's
and
great.
And reorders will be available.
Okay. That is great. No, I want to talk about, and I don't know how much time you'd be able to devote to it, but the 5 levels of engagement. Can we touch upon that?
Yeah, I don't want to go into the specifics of the levels, because that's what the book is all about, and I can't do it justice in a short conversation.
Sure.
But what I can say to you is that the 5 levels themselves are really sort of an intuitive model that I developed by just sort of looking at my working situations with people and asking myself, when do I get what I'm really looking for, and when do I not get what I'm really looking for, and when I don't, what's not there that is there when I'm getting what I need. And so I sort of intuited the model from that perspective. And what it does is it gives an individual the ability to determine ahead of time and during a relationship that here's how I want to construct this relationship, and it gives you actual steps to follow and things to do. People love things to do. This gives you things to do.
Sure.
And it also gives you a way of evaluating a relationship. Business is a contact sport. People get banged, relationships get bruised. And it gives you a way of looking at the relationship and saying, all right, so what part of this is damaged and how do I need to repair it?
Very nice. You've given such profound insights, I think, to our viewers. I know I've learned quite a bit in our interview here today. Now, to wrap up then, to summarize, what we're saying is for people not to think about getting a job, for them to find opportunities, for them to be able to find opportunities to make a living. Right?
I think the very first thing is for people to be able to say to themselves, I work for myself.
Ah, okay. Brilliant. Okay. So
Not that I don't work with someone else, not that I don't have an employment type situation, but who I work for is me.
So once you own that kind of thinking,
Yes.
then you can move ahead and think in a way that make yourself marketable and be able to enjoy what you're doing.
Yes, and I think, I would think that probably when I make a statement like, I work for me, someone might hear that and say, oh, he's talking about being selfish. They're right, I am. I'm talking about being appropriately selfish. I'm not talking about being narcissistic. I'm not talking about having it be all about me. What I am talking about is understanding that you need to take care of you first before you are actually able to take care of other people.
That's great. These are concepts that have been around a while, but
Yeah.
you've tied them together
Oh, yeah.
in such a manner that, you make yourself marketable for the future.
Yeah.
I wish we had more time because we have so many things to talk about.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it.
Well-
like I said, I'll be here every week.
Okay, that sounds good. And thank you, our viewers, for joining us today. Our guest today is Mike Cook. He's the author of Thrive, Standing on Your Own 2 Feet in a Borderless World. He's also the co-founder of Vital Work. And I'm Nanette Nocon. Thank you for joining us. If you have any comments or questions, please email me at nnocon@aol.com. Until next time, we'll see you. I'm Nanette Nocon.
Thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, please email Nanette at nnocon@aol.com. Following production was produced through Penfield Community Television in Penfield, New York.